So in the previous video, we got the engine running again in our 94 MX-5, and now with spring fast approaching, it is time that we put some extra work into the car to make sure that it's road ready. So we still have to clean off the soft top. The window, as you saw in the last video, was incredibly dirty, and we got to get that cleaned up. We also have some new carpet waiting to go into the vehicle. Got to get the windows in, the mirrors for the doors, and then we also picked up something new for the car recently, a set of NB surfboard seats. These were used from a local friend, and they really just need to be cleaned up. They're in much better condition than the seats we have now, and I think that they're going to match the purple paint a lot better than these red seats that are currently in the car. So we still have a lot of work to do to get this thing road ready. Let's go ahead and get started. So one of the first things we're actually going to do to this car while the interior is mostly removed and in pieces is rebuild the shifter. I noticed just how sloppy it was the first time I took the car out for a drive. Here you can see just how much play there is when the car is in gear. So in order to solve that, we've picked up this bronze shifter bushing by 5X Racing. I'm actually really excited to try this out. I've never used one of these before. I've always done the Delrin shift bushings. So I'm interested to see if this will make a noticeable difference in the feel and the tightness of the shifter. And then we also have new upper and lower insulators or boots because both of them are broken and torn in this car. Now doing a shifter rebuild is a pretty straightforward process. You have 4 bolts that need to be removed. I believe they're all 10 millimeters for the upper shift boot or insulator. Once you get that off, you can take off the 3 bolts for the lower shift insulator, and then the entire shifter assembly pulls straight up. Now this next step isn't quite necessary, but you're already in there, so might as well. Take a syringe and remove all of the old transmission fluid from inside the shifter turret. The fluid in it should not really ever come in contact with the transmission. I believe they are separate, but it does help to go ahead and put new fluid in there while you're doing this process. You'll notice that there are a couple wavy metal washers and some plastic washers on the shifter itself. Make sure you put those back on in the correct order. We're actually going to just be reusing the ones that are already there as they don't seem to be damaged. Our shifter actually doesn't have the shift bushing at the bottom of it at all. It was completely missing, so that is the culprit for all of the slop in the shifter itself, and this new bushing should make a big difference. Make sure to pop those on. It is a little bit tough. Gotta give it some pressure, and then you should be able to get the shifter bushing on no problem. Once that and all of the other washers are installed, go ahead and lower the shifter back into the shift turret and then reinstall the new upper boot with the 3 bolts. There is no torque spec that I found for these, so you just want to tighten them enough to hold the shifter into place but not make it difficult to actually go through the gears. You'll know what I'm talking about if you tighten it up too much and you try to change gears and it feels like the shifter is just resisting and rubbing on something. Same thing for the upper insulator. You're going to install the 4 bolts and then just tighten them up as best you can by hand. So now that we got the shifter rebuild done, it is time, I think, to get the carpet installed, at least what goes on the bottom floor, and so that way we can get the new seats in, get the center console and all the other interior trim. The carpet's really going to be the base to build everything on top of, so I think it's time that we prioritize doing that. So we'll go ahead and get these old seats out, get everything cleaned up, so that way we can get the new carpet in. This is going to be a lot of work. It's the first time I've done a big project car like this, but we're super excited for it. Cue the time lapse. So we got the dash out. It honestly wasn't a terrible job, but there are a couple things that I learned from it and wanted to help you guys do a better job as well. There was one mistake that I made. I'll point that out here in just a moment. But to start with, I wasn't sure some of the wires that needed to be disconnected in order to get the dash out. Basically all of these down here, I think these are for like the main body and the engine harness. Everything you see here had to be disconnected because it connected to harnesses in the dash. This is the airbag wire, so be careful with those. Make sure you unplug the battery before you guys are unplugging these. There's another airbag wire over here that we had to undo, and then right here on the air conditioning, I think the evaporator, there was two wires that were pretty tough to remove from the bottom coming into this little component right here. So everything, all these wires down there, over there, all of that had to be disconnected. Again, this is the first time I've done this, so it wasn't super clear what had to be and not disconnected, and that caused one little issue: the speedometer cable. So of course you have to unplug the gauge cluster and take all that out. And so as I pulled the dash out for the first time and realized some of the wires were still connected and placed the dash back in to then disconnect those, I accidentally set it down on the speedometer cable and broke the little needle right here just because I wasn't paying good enough attention. So now we're gonna have to replace that speedometer cable, unfortunately. So make sure that you guys try and remove all of these wires if you're doing this yourself before removing the dash, and be extra careful as you're moving it around that you're not getting it caught up on things like that. There were also a couple of cables for the air conditioning. You had one that led right here. There's another one that went over there, and then the third one right here. All those had to be pulled off, and then the dash came out pretty easy. I kind of wish already that I would have waited for the shifter rebuild, because I think taking out the shifter itself would also make this job a lot easier, but it was definitely possible with the shifter still in place. I was wanting to completely sand this down and paint it black, maybe with like some bed liner or something like that, just to give some extra insulation, some extra mass, and make it black as opposed to the red on purple. But that's going to be a ton of work. I'm not sure it's really worth the investment. There's really not too much rust or anything crazy going on down here, just a lot of dirt from over the years. We cleaned it up as best we can, but the carpet's going to be covering most of that. More dirt's going to collect eventually, so it's not a huge deal. But speaking of the carpet, so this right here is one piece of our new carpet. We went with Mist Gray. This is from stockinteriors.com. They were pretty reasonably priced as far as new carpet goes. We did pay extra for the mass backing. This is that little rubber you can see here, just to add some more insulation for noise and heat and vibrations, as opposed to just the plain carpet itself. This little piece is a part of the OEM carpet, the only part that was still in the car. It was right underneath of that little assembly right there where the heater core is, and then that directs the airflow within the car. So I took this out because, as you'll notice, the stock interior carpet does not have any cuts in it for the shifter, the e-brake, the bolt holes for the seats. It's literally just a molded carpet for the shape of the floor in the car, which is great. But that means we're going to have to cut out all of the different places for the seat bolts and the shifter and the e-brake and all those sorts of things. So I've taken that OEM piece of carpet, I've clamped it onto the new carpet in about the same spot where it sits. I'm going to go ahead and take a utility knife or scissors and go ahead and start to cut out some of these sections here, just to make the initial fitment a little bit easier. And then from there we can trim any extra that we need to. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So we already showed getting the carpet in. Now we have the dashboard back in place. I believe everything is wired up. There are a couple plugs on the driver's side that I'm not too sure of. We've got, let me turn this light down. We've got these two plugs here that I'm not really sure what they go to. This one's got a red, a blue, red and white. It looks like a black and white wire, and then this one's got a pink and yellow. So I'm not sure what these two go to. And then we've got one up here that I'm not sure if that was even connected. And same with these, I'm not sure if these were connected before or not, but don't see anywhere immediately obvious that they would plug into. So if somebody out there knows what these wires go to, feel free to drop it down in the comments below. I'll still try to figure out where those go to if they are necessary for this car. We also threw in the power mirror switch because I do plan on putting some power mirrors on this car instead of the manual ones. We had to get new mirrors anyway because again, this car was missing the driver's side mirror. We do have the passenger, but I figured I might as well upgrade them while I'm at it. It seems like they don't have any wiring coming through the doors. The little harness is right here in the little slot that goes between the door and the body. So we just need the wire that goes from there to here, and potentially I can trace that underneath the dash later and figure out where the wire that plugs into there is, because I don't know where that one is either, if this car even has it hidden behind the dash. But we'll worry about those later. For now, we're gonna go ahead and keep getting this car pieced together. So next we want to get the seats in. And again, this carpet does not have any holes in it for the seat mounts. So we need to go ahead and cut a couple holes here, here, one here, somewhere over here for the seat mounts. And then we're also going to make a little hole right about here for the seat belt itself. So let's go ahead and get those drilled out, get the carpet cleaned up because it got a little dirt on it from putting the dash back in. And then we'll be one step closer to having a real car. For these cutouts, I put my finger underneath the carpet to mark where the seat bolt holes were, and then just cut a small area around it. I then test fitted the seat and found out I had to cut a little bit more away than what you see here because it was getting sandwiched between the seat bracket and the body of the car itself and wouldn't allow me to thread the seat bolts all the way in. So after a few days and long hours of working, we finally got our new to us seats installed and the first layer of carpet. It's amazing just how much work it took to get these two pieces into this car, but also how much of a difference it made compared to the state the car was in when we first picked it up. It's so fun to see this transformation finally take shape. I'm sure you guys working on your own project cars at home feel the exact same way. And as you can see, we have a lot more stuff to do. In the interior, we got the door panels, the tombstone, the center console, a lot of stuff that needs to be put back together. But I think that's enough content for this episode. So make sure to stay tuned as we continue to piece this car together little by little and make it look like a beautiful Miata once again. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are and if there's anything specific you would like to see as we continue this build series for you. I can't wait to see you in the next episode.